Doctor Who series will seemingly have a lot to juggle in terms of its plot, with obviously the Timeless Child revelations being a major part of this series. But there's something else that I think it really needs to throw into its mix if it wants to be a resonant, great and successful series. So here is the plotline that Series 13 needs to resolve. So at the end of The Timeless Children, and actually seen in Revolution of the Daleks, the Doctor was captured by the Judoon, who were after her because she was one of their fugitives, and she is sent to prison. That seemed like a really cool concept, something I was really looking forward to in Revolution of the Daleks, and then in slightly one of the more underwhelming aspects of that episode, that whole plotline just collapses, comes to an end in the first 15 minutes, not referenced at all apart from a one offhand comment for the rest of the episode, no consequences, nothing, they just leave, and they're gone. And at the time, and especially in retrospect, that seemed very odd on the part of the creative team, and especially Chris Chibnall. Why did they set this plotline up if they weren't going to do anything with it? And it's that reason why I think that this plotline, the prison, should definitely be resolved in Series 13, properly. Not just Captain Jack breaking her out, but an actual proper resolution with the Judoon and everything. But other than me just ranting about how I was looking forward to this plotline, it just sort of resolved way too quickly. Are there any other reasons why this should be the case? Yes, there are, of course there are. So one of my biggest criticisms of the Chris Chibnall era as a whole is that most of the stories seem to be really disconnected. Once the story's over, it's just done. There's never really any fallout from it, references back to them, or anything. The only times it's really happened is when Tim Shaw returned. Obviously Spyfall was referenced when the Master returned, and Resolution was referenced in Revolution of the Daleks, and obviously that story contained the second appearance of Jack Robertson, a character who was established in Series 11. However, all those references back to things seem to be reserved only for the stories with the returning villains such as the Master and Tim Shaw and the Daleks. You don't just get any offhand comments within the series just talking about Jack Robertson or a previous adventure they've had. All the adventures in the middle seem to just want to be their own standalone thing and don't want to seem to be connected to the rest of it at all, which I find really strange. Obviously, I've got nothing against standalone adventures. I think they should be in there, adventures which aren't really that relevant to the plot. But I don't think they should be so not relevant to the overall arc of the series that they go as far not to really reference their previous adventures. There can be an episode in the middle of the series that has Jack Robertson in, but it doesn't need to be a key plot point for the whole series going forward. And the fact that these returning characters and references and really fallout from previous adventures are reserved for certain episodes only kind of make the ones that don't have these, the ones in the middle of the series, seem really unimportant, which is not something that I think they should be doing at the moment. But the great way to lift these adventures up is to have consequences or have some fallout from previous adventure in them. My favourite example of Doctor Who doing this would be in the episode Oxygen. For large part, it's mostly a standalone adventure, it's not really connected to the main story arc, but an amazing plot point happens when the Doctor goes blind. Doctor goes blind, and it seems that's all resolved by the end of the episode, but then the shocking cliffhanger at the end, it's revealed the Doctor's still blind, and him being blind carries over for many episodes after that. Well, I say many, 2, but it still had consequences, and elevated this episode from being just a fun standalone adventure to a really good standalone adventure that sticks in your memory, and something similar could be done with the prison. So what I'm trying to suggest here is obviously the main story arc of the series would probably revolve around something to do with the Timeless Child and those revelations. But what I'm suggesting is sort of a second story arc, if you like. Your A story arc for the series would obviously be anything related to the Timeless Child, but then the episodes that aren't, the ones that seemingly seem unimportant and just the ones in the middle that don't really feel connected to the rest, you have the sort of sub-story arc of the Judoon trying to track down the Doctor, or the Doctor being a known fugitive to the universe. Say you have episodes 1, 4, and let's say 7 and 8 being the big Timeless Child ones. In episodes 2, 3, 5, and 6, you can have just a mini thing where the Doctor goes to an alien planet, but they're recognised because they're a known Judoon fugitive, and as well as having to contend with the main threat of the story, the Doctor also has to contend with this fact. It would also be a great way if something she does in a seemingly unimportant story comes back to bite her and it alerts the Judoon to her presence, so in an episode they come and she has a confrontation with them. I'm not asking for the prison to be like the main story arc for the series, but little references to it in the episodes that would otherwise be fairly unimportant would make those episodes seem more connected to the series as a whole, and having their own sort of mini sub-story arc would work really well to make the episodes both Timeless Child based and the episodes not Timeless Child based both seem as important as each other and give the series a nice resident connectivity. And there is hope for this idea in some filming pictures. It seems the Doctor has some sort of thing around her ankle, which looks like a thing you get when you're under house arrest. So it seems maybe the Judoon are keeping an eye on her, which means they could show up in some of the non-story arc based episodes and make these ones feel more connected and important. And this would be a great way to wrap up that storyline which sort of just disappeared. But I want to know what you think. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this would make all the episodes feel more connected? And do you want the prison storyline to be wrapped up? Whatever you think, remember to like and subscribe. I've been Cyberman Alf, and from me for now, it's goodbye.